angle. Paul Joseph Watson with another excellent article. Big Sis orders ICE to prepare for mass influx of immigrants. The directive follows the leaked KBR memo requesting subcontractors to service detention camps. Now, this is part of a longer, older controversy, but Homeland Security Chief Janet Napolitano has told ICE, that is the Immigration Customs Enforcement agency, to prepare for mass influx of immigrants into the United States, calling for a plan to deal with the shelter and processing of a large number of people. But if you look deeper into the article at the details behind the FEMA camps that do exist in this country, you'll see that they've long used the excuse of mass immigration, an overrun of illegal immigrants, whatever you want to call it. So you ask yourself, why do they allow so many people to come across the border, never seemingly able to enforce the policies already on the books, love them or hate them? And you see that whether it's the building of the KBR Halliburton subsidiary camps in 2006, whether it's Rex 84, or whether it's the U.S. Army War College, they were always preparing for a scenario where illegal immigrants overrun it. Also, the FEMA camp in Taylor, they have the same thing. It's for immigration enforcement. But what is it really for? Paul Joseph Watson reports that Rex 84, short for Readiness Exercise in 1984, was established under the pretext of a mass exodus of illegal aliens crossing the Mexican-U.S. border, the same pretext used in the language of the KBR request for services. However, during the Iran-Contra hearings in 1987, it was revealed that the program was a secretive scenario and drill developed by the federal government to suspend the Constitution, declare martial law, assign military commanders to take over the state and local governments, and detain large numbers of American citizens determined by the government to be national security threats. And it's the same thing here again as they activate the camps in the modern day with the passage of the bill that really declares war on Americans, or at least the potential to detain them indefinitely. And we have a video now from the Rex 84. Let's go to that, please.
Up on screen are photocopies of the Miami Herald, and this goes back into the 1980s when they had congressional hearings dealing with shadow government and martial law. There's the headline, The Secret Government. And it talks about secret summits, a plan to take over the government. And it shows the people that were in charge of the continuity of government, Dick Cheney and others. And then we have a congressional hearing where we have Congressman Jack Brooks and others during Iran-Contra bringing up the secret plans, and they're told by Congressman Inouye that that can't be discussed. It's a national security issue.
In the 1980s, the concentration camp program got a big boost.
Colonel North, in your work at the NSC, were you not assigned at one time to work on plans for the continuity of government in the event of a major disaster?
Mr. Chairman.
I believe that question touches upon a highly sensitive and classified area, so may I request that you not touch upon that, sir.
I was particularly concerned, Mr. Chairman, because I read in Miami papers and several others that there had been a plan developed by that same agency, a contingency plan in the event of emergency that would suspend the American Constitution. And I was deeply concerned about it and wondered if that was the area in which he had worked. I believe that it was.
May I most respectfully request that that matter not be touched upon at this stage. If we wish to get into this, I'm certain arrangements can be made for an executive session.
And tragically, the only member who got close was Jack Brooks, and he was stopped by the chairman. But the truth of the matter is that, yes, you do have those standby provisions, and the plans are there, and the statutory emergency plans are there, whereby you could, in the name of stopping terrorism, apprehend, invoke the military, and arrest Americans and hold them in detention camps.
So there you have it, that clip. Now, so if Rex 84 is just to deal with an overrun of illegal immigrants, why build the camps? Why not just try to enforce the border or something else? Of course, that's a complex question, not a one-dimensional answer, but maybe the answer has to do with they just want to trigger for martial law so they can clamp down on whoever they want to, just like in any other tyranny around the world for hundreds, if not thousands of years. It's just textbook. And of course, we also have quotes in that article dealing with the U.S. Army War College's Strategic Institute plan leaked in 2008, where they deal with massive civil unrest implied here for economic reasons, where they would use the defense establishment to reorient priorities in extremis to defend basic domestic order and human security. And that's in the report. That's something else we've covered in the past, but really shows you what road we're going down. Dark day indeed. Meanwhile, the SPLC has admitted to lying about Sheriff Mack, and he has a lawsuit pending. We wanted to cover this briefly because Sheriff Mack was very upset about, well, not the first time of being taken out of context. It just told outright lies, implying that he calls for violence when in fact he doesn't and never did. He spoke directly, however, with Mark Potok, head spokesman for the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center. Mack says Potok admitted to him, "We went back and reviewed the tape where we reported you advocated shooting agents, and that isn't what you said." Potok agreed to reprint a retraction. However, Mack says the retraction was a tiny paragraph compared to the massive coverage they had given to the earlier false charges about him, and it could not even begin to undo the vast damage they've done in smearing his name and the CSPOA before other law enforcement agencies. Mack pointed out that Sheriff Dwight Nothstein of Carbon County, Pennsylvania, for instance, has publicly compared Sheriff Mack to Hitler and repeated the SPLC charge that he has advocated shooting federal agents. So at least they printed a retraction, even though they're constantly smearing patriots. We covered a few weeks ago with Stuart Rhodes how they imply him and many others are white supremacists up in Montana, when in fact there's nothing of the sort going on. Just something else to watch. Sheriff Mack, who, by the way, fought at the Supreme Court level illegal gun control attempts when he was sheriff. Very nice guy. We've had him on the program before. In other news, the USDA conspires with biotech industry for complete deregulation of GMOs. That's an article from Barbara Peterson at Farm Wars. She quotes from Truth Out, under a new 2-year pilot program at the USDA, regulators are training the world's biggest biotech firms, including Monsanto, BASF, and Syngenta, to conduct environmental reviews of their own transgenic seed products as part of the government's deregulation process. So the lack of oversight that currently exists for GMOs will be at an even lesser threshold, as they will be asked to regulate themselves, because basically it would be too tedious to do an environmental impact survey, and that would clog up their ability to sell and otherwise push their ill-gotten products onto the market. Well, what do you expect? We know it's a revolving door between the various regulation agencies and government and these biotech firms, who, by the way, BASF, a good example how it goes back to the cartel, that is IG Farben, and which also connects with the Bilderberg Group, where groups like Syngenta meet annually, as do Monsanto, at least time to time. Something else to keep an eye on. They will now be regulating themselves and telling you that the products are good for you, but they don't need to label them. Now, a different story. Inside Wukong, the Chinese village that fought back, an interesting profile of a small town of 20,000 people, a coastal fishing village town in China. For the first time on record, the Chinese Communist Party has lost all control, with the population of 20,000 in the southern fishing village now in open revolt. And it goes on to discuss how they ran off the party members from the small town after they began stealing their land and privatizing it and selling it to various commercial interests. And they finally had enough after several years, and 3 months ago began a standoff, and the last Chinese official did finally leave. It adds that although China suffers an estimated 180,000, quote, mass incidents a year, it's unheard of for the party to sound a retreat and actually leave an area that's just in this small town. But sorry, that's the wrong copy. I had a better markup. Anyway, it's a complex story, but in essence, They positioned the town to appoint 13 leaders to deal with negotiating with the police, who put their town under siege through a long standoff and struggle. But then they kidnapped 5 of those members. One of them died in custody, and that is basically when the town lost it and pushed out all the other authorities and began to regulate themselves and found they were better off for it, even though more than 1,000 police surrounded this town of 20,000, not letting food, water, or fishing boats in or out, or any of the villagers. Nevertheless, they think they have enough food for the time being and are trying to resist the Communist Party's control, although it's certainly not over yet. Interesting story up on the London Telegraph. Of course, it's almost Christmas time, and this holiday season we have some very special discounts for PrisonPlanet.tv. You can get a yearly subscription, 44% off the regular price at $39.95. It's great. You can share it with 5 of your friends, contacts, perfect strangers, whatever. Let them see the information. You can get an even better deal, in my opinion, 70% off for $129.95. That membership, that you could share with 5 people, plus 18 physical DVDs in the shiny plastic wrapper. You can give to friends, family, or, as I said, perfect strangers. Give the gift of information and truth rather than Chinese-made plastic junk and all the rest of it that comes with the holiday season. Right now, we're going to go to break. We'll be back with the Gunter Spence interview. You don't want to miss it, about how tyranny has dawned on America and what it was like in East Germany. Thank you and good night.
What's up with these sorry politicians? Lots of bark. When it's showtime, whimpering like little shih tzus. You want big cuts. Ron Paul's been screaming it for years. Budget crisis? No problem. Got $1 trillion year one. That's trillion with a T. Department of Education? Gone. Interior, Energy, HUD, Commerce? Gone. Later, bureaucrats. That's how Ron Paul rolls. Want to drain the swamp? Ron Paul. Do it.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.
If you believe in this information and want to support its viral spread, go to the Infowars store at Infowars.com. We've got the new G.I. Joe Infowars t-shirts. We've got the incredible Pro Pure gravity-fed filters available at Infowars.com in the store. We've got a new DVD, Scientists Under Attack, the Don't Tread on Me flag. We've got all sorts of different bumper stickers to help spread the rebellion virally. It's all there. Wristbands, citizen rule books in every order. Order online at Infowars.com today. The water filters, the canteens. It's all there. Infowars.com. Welcome back. It's the second half of Infowars Nightly News on this December 15th, 2011 edition. And Gunter Spence is our guest. I interviewed him yesterday on the syndicated radio show, and now we've got him here for the TV show. He lives in Dallas and has been here in the United States for 13 years. He came here as a software engineer working for oil companies, and he was right in the middle as a lieutenant colonel at the highest levels of where the military stand-down began in East Germany, which has been vaunted for its incredible surveillance police state. And talking to him on the radio, and I've seen parallels in the research myself, but I didn't live it, the United States has surpassed East Germany in many respects. And so he's here to break down his experiences there and now parallels to what he sees in the West, promoting torture, secret arrest, military, drones to be used against the American people. Gunter, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, well, we had a great talk on the radio, but this is commercial-free now. It was a solid interview. You made a lot of great points when we were getting, water and coffee and stuff that you didn't make on the radio about Alex. We started bad in East Germany with no rights and then developed some and stood down. You're going the opposite direction. You have all these great rights where the people are the power.
Yes.
In your own words, break down where we left off on the radio with the parallels here in the West.
I'm born in 1952. In the beginning of East Germany, actually a German Democratic Republic, let's say East Germany is shorter. Beginning of East Germany, the party was in total power. The law was there in place, constitution in place, but the party ignored everything. So when you criticized the party or the government, which was the same, you were locked up, you disappeared, just no right at all. And later, you get more and more right, because we have the other side of the border was West Germany. And East Germany was not accepted from the beginning as a country. So they had to have good documents and have to look nice, let's say this. Yeah.